All right, we can also use the chemical formula as conversion factors as well. So for example, if we have again our example of 14.0 grams of CH4, how many moles of just hydrogen, right? Maybe we're interested in the hydrogen. Maybe we're going to take the hydrogen out of this CH4 and do something else with it. So we're not interested in the carbon, we're just interested in the hydrogen. So how much hydrogen do we have? So again, we have this 14.0 grams of the CH4, and our first step, whenever we have grams of anything, I mean 99% of the time, it's going to be go to moles. So we have our number from before, the molar mass from before, 16.043 grams. So grams and grams will cancel out here. And now we want to think about, instead of moles of CH4, we want moles of hydrogen. So for example, if we think about CH4, we have 4 H's per carbon, and that's a conversion factor right there. So we can have 4H per 1 CH4, or we could have 1 CH4 per 4H, right? It's a conversion factor, so we can write it either way. In this case, we note that the CH4 is on the top here, so we're going to want the CH4 down on the bottom. That way it cancels out. So 1 CH4 is equal to 4 hydrogens, and then this CH4 and then this CH4 go ahead, cancel out. And if you look at what units we have remaining, it's just moles of hydrogen, which answers our question. And then we just go ahead and do the math and round to the correct number of sig figs, which is 3. And we get 3.49 moles of hydrogen. An important thing to consider whenever doing conversion factors, and especially when we get to more complicated stuff, is that these conversion factors and measurements can have up to 3 parts. So we're just going to say note measurements / conversion factors can have 3 parts. So for example, when we say 1 mole of CH4, we have 3 different parts in this kind of measurement, right? First, we have the numerical value, the number, which tells you how much you have. Then we have the unit, which is again kind of telling you how much. Just going with the number, right? Are you talking about a mole? Are you talking about a liter? Are you talking about a milliliter? Are you talking about a gram? Are you talking about a dozen, right? It's the unit, right? So without the number, the unit is useless, right? How far away are you? 5 far away, right? That doesn't make any sense. You need a unit, 5 miles, 5 kilometers, that kind of thing. And then the last, but definitely not least, is what I would call the subject. So that's what you're talking about, right? In this case, it's CH4, but it can be whatever you're talking about. So it's the subject. You know, what are you measuring out some amount of water? Are you measuring out some amount of gas? That kind of thing. You can see that came into play right here, where we had this CH4. If we didn't include the subject here, we wouldn't have known to put the CH4 down here. You could logic and reason your way through it, but if you include all 3 parts of the measurement, it's a little bit easier to do. So just a little hint there. And of course, here we have the moles of hydrogens, but we could also go to mass of hydrogens, right? How much hydrogen do we have in terms of mass? And so what we would do is just copy our problem from above here. Again, you don't want to copy the answer because you did some rounding there. So if you take that rounded number and do math further with it, you might get the wrong answer because every time you round, you insert some amount of error. And so if we look at our problem over here, what we're currently at is moles of hydrogen. And so if we want to go to mass of hydrogens, we need a unit that converts between grams and moles. That's our molar mass. Hydrogen has 1.008 grams per mole. So we can then use that where we have this mole up top here. We know that mole has to go down here. And then we use 1.008 grams. The moles and the moles cancel out. And now we're at grams of hydrogen. And then we get 3.52 grams of hydrogen, right? Maybe you're going to do something with this hydrogen, that kind of thing. Overall, this is just more unit conversion. It shouldn't be anything too dissimilar to what we've already learned. But like everything in this course, really the key is practice, practice, practice. So I made this little meme for you guys, right? Watching videos on how to do something that's not going to be nearly as useful. It does, provide a good foundation or a good example of how to do something, but to actually master something, you've got to actually do it. So check out the work along for another worked out problem where you can see everything step by step. And then if you need more practice than that, check out the extra resources, which will be filled with to links to little worksheets with keys in them, right? So you've got plenty of places you can do practice with, and just practice as much as you need to get the concept.